So my name's Sophie Metcalfe. I'm from the Sophie Group, and we're a marketing consultancy based just outside York. We're in Pocklington, which is a gorgeous little town, and we are consultants. We were an agency. We're less of an agency now, more of a consultancy. So I'm the lead consultant, and I am a member of the Chartered Institute of Marketing. And I basically go into businesses and help them transition and scale up, and also work on marketing strategies, helping them bring the right people into the organisation to be able to drive the business forward. So I'm going to switch off my video because I find it a little bit distracting, but I thought I'd just say hello as we get started. So I'll switch that video off and we'll concentrate on everything that I have to say today. So that is me, Sophie Metcalfe. You can find me at thesophigroup.co.uk. Feel free, if you have any questions today, please pop them in the chat or in the Q&A, and I will try and get through them as I go along. And obviously I'll spend as much time after the webinar as well going through questions and answering as much as I can. But you can also find me on social media at the Sophie Group. And also, if anybody's on Clubhouse as well, please feel free to connect with me on there, because we are going to start running some rooms on Clubhouse so that we can have a bit more interaction with people that we're talking to, because webinars are great and I've got loads of slides to go through, but it's not like being in a room speaking to people. So if you're on Clubhouse, please do connect with me and let me know as well that you are on this webinar, and I'll make sure that you're invited to future rooms. So I will get started. So today we're talking about scaling up our marketing strategy. So this might not be what you are necessarily expecting. So this webinar definitely is, I'm going to call it a pep talk. So if you are a business owner, depending on what size, it doesn't really matter what size your business is. If you have a vision for growth, that is a really courageous thing. So whether you work on your own or whether you already have a team full of people that work with you within your business, it's a really courageous thing to think, right, I know that we can do this better, and I know that we can step this up, and we're going to bring more people in. That's very courageous. So if you're at that point, fantastic. If you're not at that point, this webinar is still relevant to you, because what I want this to do is to help you think about your marketing vision for the future, to think about where your business is going. You may not be ready right now to bring people in, but you know that when you are, you're going to have the right vision. And you're going to know where to start. That's the most important thing as well. So this is a chance for you to think about your marketing vision, where your business is going. And it's definitely for SMEs who at the moment don't have a defined marketing strategy, or perhaps they don't have a full-time marketing professional that works within their business. And that can look either as a consultant or freelancer, whether you use an agency or whether you have someone working part-time. If you don't have that at the moment, this is fantastic for you, because this is going to help you think about who you need to bring into your organization. And hopefully this webinar is a bit of a different perspective on marketing as well. This definitely is not a step-by-step or a how-to guide on marketing strategy. I'm not going to go into too much detail about how to do a marketing strategy, how to build it, because that will take days. That would be a day-long webinar, I think. But it's hopefully going to give you a little bit of an overview of what a marketing strategy, a fully formed marketing strategic plan looks like. And it definitely isn't a one-size-fits-all. Every business is completely different. They all have different needs. Your business will have a completely different need to the next business in this webinar. So there's no one-size-fits-all approach. And I'm not going to go into any creative details today either. So we're not talking about social media. We're not going to talk about content. I've done all that in previous webinars. This is very much thinking about where you go from here. So if you've been on one of my webinars before, I have some marketing mantras, and these are how they go. There is no right or wrong way in marketing. There is only efficiency and effectiveness. So you can never get it wrong with marketing. You can get it to a point where you know that you're not getting your return on investment. That's not necessarily wrong. That is a signal that you have to do things differently. Testing and refining over time. A marketing strategy is a long-term plan, and it continues to change and it continues to grow with your business. So it's not something, there's no magic wand that's going to immediately bring loads of customers to you. And I always say, be realistic with your budget and your time and your resources as well. So before we go into any more details, I want you to think about where you are with your business right now. Can you relate to any of these statements? And if so, then you're in the right webinar. So right now, I feel like I'm throwing money at my website. I feel like I'm throwing money at social media, insert marketing resource here. And I have no idea how effective or efficient that marketing is in bringing back the money. I have no idea what my return on investment is. I'm spending money on my marketing and I don't know genuinely how much money I'm getting back. So if you can relate to that statement, this webinar is for you. Or perhaps you're thinking, I don't really know what works and what doesn't for my business, or I do everything myself. I see this time and time again, and I meet with business owners a lot that, they take on the role of marketing manager themselves whilst they're also growing their business, whilst they're also doing the day-to-day tasks and admin and sales and everything. Perhaps you're thinking, I already outsource some of my marketing, but I'm not entirely sure whether it's working. Or we have a marketing person or a marketing team within our business, but I just know that there's something more that we could be doing, or I just know that this brand has huge potential and I'm ready to take a courageous step and change our marketing process. That is my favorite statement. That's my favorite conversation. And I'm hoping that that is a point, and that's the reason why you're in this webinar, is that there's something that you need to do differently and you're ready to step your game up and you're ready to bring people into your business to be able to do your marketing properly and know exactly and measure it properly and know that it's efficient. So hopefully if you're in that position, then your marketing vision will align with something like this. So you want to align your marketing with your business growth ambitions, or you want to restructure and improve your marketing processes, which ties into developing a clear roadmap. And in the middle of that is people. That's why there's a little graphic there with little people in the middle of there. People are the most important thing that you have to think about with marketing. It's not your social media. It's not necessarily your website that's the most important thing. They're your assets that you have, but the most important asset that you have are the people and the skills within your organization to properly manage your marketing. And that is the theme of today's webinar. So I want us to gain a little bit of perspective, and I'm sure when you see the next slide, how messy it is and how messy it gets, you'll suddenly realize, oh yeah, that's how I feel right now. So we always think about marketing as being the sexy side of marketing. So that includes things like your website, the web development, the web design, lead generation, web management. If you sell through your website, if you actually have an online shop, or you actually drive conversions through your website for actual sales, funnel development, content creation and copywriting, SEO, then you get onto your social media. Again, this is another, what we call the sexy side of marketing: social media, monitoring, posting, creating content, scheduling the content, digital advertising, perhaps things like Google ads or Facebook ads, or your pay-per-click, which then all ties into graphic design as well, and making sure that all the assets that you're putting out there, all the brand messaging is designed nicely. You've got lovely graphics going out on social media, for example. You've got graphics on your website that all needs designing, all your marketing materials. Then of course, offline marketing as well. So if you have brochures or leaflets that you're sending out there, print advertising, that all needs designing. And then your internal marketing as well. So all the people that work within your business, are they happy at what they do? Are they portraying that to your customers, to your audience? Your customer service is a big part of marketing as well. Customer relationship management, that's CRM. Your brand values, are they in line with your brand management? And then you've got things like events, and I haven't even added on there things like PR, and things that you're doing, speaking to the press, that kind of thing. And all this falls under marketing, and this is what we tend to think about. That's sort of like the top layer of marketing that we always think about first, and we tend to forget these little parts up here. So this is what I like to think of the unsexy side, but thankfully this is the part that I absolutely love. So things like marketing audits and auditing where your business is and what you're doing and how effective your marketing is. Monitoring your competition, knowing what other businesses out there that you're competing against, knowing what they're doing and moving alongside them and trying to get ahead of them. market research, measuring effectiveness and efficiency of your marketing, and then all those tweaks and changes as well. If it's not quite going right, how do you know where the holes are and how do you plug those gaps? So what tends to happen, in my experience over the past few years of being in marketing, when I've spoken to small businesses, what I'm always finding is that they concentrate on this side of marketing, so the sexy side. So things like your social media, your website, or your print marketing, or your materials that you use and put out there. And it's easy to forget about the actual internal marketing side. So your employees, their employee engagement, your customer service as well, that gets forgotten about. And then that section there doesn't even get thought about at all. So all these elements, I've made that slide as messy as possible because that's sometimes how marketing feels. It sometimes feels a little bit like an abstract concept that, you know, there's all these elements. Everybody talks about social media and everybody talks about how amazing it is for your business. You've got to be on Facebook, you've got to be on Twitter, and it all feels a bit messy. And it all tends to fall on one person's shoulders, whether that is you. And if that is you, whilst you're running a business, then you're an absolute superhero because it's such a massive task looking after marketing and making sure that it works with your business. And then there's the problem there of who you're accountable to, or who that one person is accountable to. And we're going to go into more detail about that relationship as well. So it's a lot for one person to deal with. So what I like to think about is the structure of a business when I first start working with a business. And I want you to think about the structure of your business. So you will tend to have, as a small business, it would be that you have your business owners, or you have one business owner, the boss. I've put them in inverted commas there. So you are the boss, and then around you, you have your staff. So you have all defined roles. Everybody within your business has a defined role. Generally, with small businesses, a lot of roles merge into each other. So everybody will have sort of dual responsibilities. Everybody that comes into your business will have to be a bit of a chameleon and be able to take on different skills and different tasks. So you have either defined roles or you have those sort of blurred lines a little bit, if you will. And that's generally how it works in a small business. And then you may have, depending on the size of your business, departmental managers. And then you've got the doers, so all your sales and admin and experts. So generally with a small business, that's how it will work. And then what tends to happen is the boss, either that's you or whoever is defined as the boss in your business, will think, okay, we need perhaps somebody to help with social media. We need someone to help and look after our website, or we need a new website. We need someone to design us some brochures, or we just need a general marketing bod. And all this gets a bit messed up, and it's really easy to kind of forget where the defined roles are and actually where the skills gaps are in your business. And it's through no fault of a business owner's, it's through no fault of their own. The boss isn't entirely sure what skill gaps need filling and expects that a creative person, because that's generally what the norm is, that a creative person, a social media expert, or someone with a bit of website experience or web design building experience, that person is going to fix all your marketing problems and wave a magic wand. So this is where I want to try and clear this up a little bit. So if we think about this example scenario, then where it often goes wrong, when you look for somebody, a marketing expert to come into your business, it generally tends to be either you employ someone into your business who has sort of a bit of skills in everything, or you will you'll look for a freelancer. And usually a small business will sort of go to numerous freelancers. So they'll go to a web developer to look after the website, and then they'll go to a social media expert. And this is generally just out of experience. You may have done something completely different, and this is just sort of what I've seen over the last few years. Or as a small business, you'll go to an agency that deals with small businesses, and you kind of say to them, just look after our marketing. And what happens is that these people, this marketing department, if you will, gets put in a little box, and it's sort of detached from the business. And that's where it goes wrong. And that's where these weak links sit, where these weak links are. That the relationship between the boss or the management or the ownership, the owner of the business, and marketing is not good enough. The relationship between marketing and the rest of the business isn't good enough either. and that there's no marketing management process there, which means that there's no accountability and there's no measurement of success. So time and time again, that's how I see this structure working. And it's really easy, and it's really, it happens a lot that we speak to a small business and they'll say, we've had such a bad experience with the past agency that we worked with, or we've had a bad experience with freelancers before, just not quite getting the messaging right, and they're not, they didn't quite do what we asked them to do. What can happen as well is that they'll say, we had a bad experience because, they started off really great and then it just sort of didn't improve how we expected it to, and we didn't get what we wanted out of it. And that is not the fault of the agency. And I'm going to say that I've been on every side of this coin. So it's not necessarily the fault of the agency. It's not necessarily the fault of the freelancer or the business boss. The fault lies in that relationship. The weak link there is the relationship between the two, because you cannot expect somebody who is not within your business day in, day out, working with your staff and who understands all the processes of your business, to fully understand what they're supposed to do with your marketing. That's not to say that it can't work. It can work. There have been great relationships. I mean, we had great relationships with businesses where we've got it absolutely right and it's worked perfectly, but a lot of the time it doesn't always work. So one thing that I want to reinforce is that marketing definitely starts on the inside. So marketing must integrate fully into your business and your internal culture. And hopefully that will become a little bit more clear as I go through these slides. And marketing must be a driving force for improvements and change within your business. So why am I telling you this? So this is from the Chartered Institute of Marketing. They define marketing, this is all over their literature, the marketing process responsible for identifying, anticipating, and satisfying customer requirements profitably. So I've highlighted there the management process. So as a small business, you may have experience working within bigger organizations, and then you've jumped ship and you decided to start your own business, and that's where the origins of your business lie. So it may be that you completely understand and you've had this sort of departmental way of thinking about your business, and you've always started by compartmentalizing your business. You've got departments, everybody has their defined roles because that's how it works. A lot of the time, sometimes when you start a small business, like I said before, those lines and those roles become a little bit blurred. And then that's when you think marketing gets even more blurred, and it's even more detached from your business. So another example, really, if you are the only person in your business, if you're a sole trader, you work by yourself and you do everything but yourself. I mean, A, you're a superhero, and B, when you get to that point of identifying the time when you are ready to take on marketing help, then you need to think about these questions. And I suppose this is the same for any size business. Do I have the capacity right now, in the position that I am, to be able to manage marketing properly, to integrate a marketeer or a creative person into the business, to manage them? How will that management structure work? How does that communication between the two sides work? Or do I have to, what I'm about to talk to you about, do I have to start by employing a strategic marketing role into the business? So the ideal structure that I see works is the fact that you would have your business leader at the top of the business. You've got this hierarchy within the business and you've got your departments. And then the marketing department is part of that, and it sits in this lovely little bubble. And you're going to say to me, Sophie, I can't afford to employ a marketing department right now. So this is aspirational. This is for you to think about and start thinking that you need to departmentalize your business. So you can then start planning how you invest in the right people and who you need to start with. So how can it work for a small business? Thinking about the term marketing department, as I like to call it, what that can mean is actually that you have perhaps one person within your business, but that has to have a specific marketing manager role. So you start with that strategic person in your business who has an understanding of all the elements of marketing, all those creative elements we had on that messy slide, and how to pull them all together within your brand. They set out a plan with you, they deliver the action, they measure the success, and they report directly to you. And that takes away that responsibility of marketing from you puts it on this marketing manager that's come into your business. And then whoever else is working with you, they can then help you outsource to freelancers who are then going to be looking after your social media. That marketing person, that marketing manager within your business is the person then that will manage everything around that so that it takes it away from you. That can also be a marketing consultant. And I'm not trying to sell my services here. I'm trying to give you cost-effective ways to think about how you structure your marketing within your business. And I am a marketing consultant, but I'm not trying to just basically say, employ me into your business. What I'm saying is that this is a cost-effective solution. There are other solutions as well. So temporary options, as you think about how you're going to transition your business from the size that it is now, the aspirations that you have to grow and bring more people into the business to be able to grow your offering, grow your customer base. There are other options while you go through that transition process. One of those being the staff that you have right now. If you could look at your staff right now and the people that work within your organization, can you share some of the marketing responsibilities with them? Because they know the business better than anybody right now, you would hope. Can you share some of those roles with them? Can you ask some of them to look after social media? Can you ask some of them to help with creating content? And if you can incentivize that extra work as well, so you either maybe increase their pay. If you say, look, I want you to help me with social media, I'm going to add a little bit more onto your salary to be able to do that. It then puts the responsibility on them. It then makes them accountable for what's going to happen with your social media. So you can incentivize that extra work. Is there then the opportunity for skills growth and more training opportunities? And then there tends to be quite a lot of funding out there for things like skills training and developing your team that you have. Thinking about apprenticeships as well. There are so many apprentices out there, and apprenticeships have become more and more popular over the past few years. And there are quite a lot of digital apprenticeships, marketing apprenticeships out there. So can you bring an apprentice in? That's another option. But again, it must be thoroughly managed. So however you start thinking about how you're going to structure your marketing department, let's call it, you've still got to be managed. And are you the person to manage it? Or do you need to bring in somebody, either a consultant, or is it going to be a full-time employee who is going to take that responsibility? So that's one option. It's a temporary option. So what does a strategic marketing role within your business look like? So a person that you bring into your business must understand your business inside and out. So they must have an understanding of the market, your competition. They're looking at your business objectives and they're helping you develop those objectives and drive the business forward. They understand the structure of the business and all the processes and procedures that are in place within your organization. And crucially, they're big on relationship building, so pulling everybody together, because that's a big part of marketing, internal marketing. And all that takes time. So now hopefully you're starting to understand that if you're wanting to bring someone into the business, whether it's a freelancer, whether you're outsourcing to an agency to look after your marketing, they've got to have all this with them. They've got to be able to understand your business inside out. And that sometimes is impossible when you're employing somebody who's working remote and who is detached from your business. So you have to have that communication there. This strategic marketing person within your business must then develop a strategic marketing plan. And I'm going to go through that with you in a moment and show you exactly what that looks like. And what this does is it identifies your marketing tactics. So that's all your social media, your website, your digital strategy, content strategy, that's all the tactics. They identify the skills gaps within your business as well to be able to fulfill these strategies. They identify your budget, so they're helping you work on your growth objectives and what money is going to be available and what money that needs to be invested in your marketing, and identifying the risks as well. And then, of course, that person will be managing the outsourcing. So looking at other agencies, helping the communication between agencies and business and freelancers and business, or they're going to be the person that helps you recruit as well and build your team up. And like I said before, the relationship building, they've got to ensure that everybody in your business is bought into this new strategy of growth, of moving forward. So internal marketing becomes absolutely integral. Is everybody in your business on the same page? Is everybody giving out the same messages? Because everyone in your business represents your brand. So they've all got to be on the same page and making sure they're saying the right things, essentially. So how do we transition the business to develop and scale up our marketing? Like I said, I didn't want this to be a sales pitch, and now I'm looking at this slide and it looks like a sales pitch. But like I said, it's about finding somebody like a strategic marketing consultant. Rather than you going straight to somebody who can help with social media, pull it back and think, okay, actually, we need to invest in strategy. And a strategic marketing consultant or a full-time employee who's going to take that role can either be permanent or they can be temporary, but it has to be over a long period of time, and they must guide you through that growth transition. So let's look at a strategic marketing plan then. A strategic marketing plan is more than looking at something like a social media strategy or looking at a content strategy. A strategic marketing plan identifies all the skills and resource gaps in your business, helps you set marketing objectives, helps you develop those budgets based on your growth objectives, helps you identify and mitigate risks to your business as well. So the delivery and the measurement and the control where the tweaks are needed, and this will make sense in a moment. But what I thought I'd do is I'd give you this holiday analogy. So this is how I always explain a marketing strategy. So remember those things we used to do where we used to go to an airport and get on a big metal bird and fly to a faraway land? They were called holidays. Cannot wait until I can go on a holiday again. Cannot wait. When you book a holiday, essentially what you're doing, so let's say we're going to go to the Maldives, essentially a strategic plan is how you get to the Maldives and back again safely, and that you meet your objectives. So a holiday takes months of planning, doesn't it, generally? So you've got to think about your budget. So before you even book your holiday, you've got to think, can we afford this? How do we save the money to be able to afford this? And then you get to that place of, right, we can afford it now, let's book it. Then you've got to think about your budgeting, the budgeting for the money that you'll need when you get there. You've then got to plan all the essentials that you need. So like all the clothes, you've got to make sure that you plan an itinerary if you want to do things while you're out there. You've got to book the right hotel as well, or your airport transfers you need to plan. Thinking about car parking at the airport for a couple of weeks, that's always something that you leave to the last minute. On the day timings as well. So we've got to get to the airport, we've got to make sure we're there at the right time and get on the plane. And you think about your carry-on luggage versus your hold luggage. What are you going to take on the plane? What do you need to take? What can you put in your hold luggage? Are the passports in date? Do we need to get passports ready before we go? What currency do we need? Are we taking cash? All this sounds really stressful, doesn't it? Why did we used to do this? Why do we used to go on holidays? Sounds stressful. All these things you've got to plan. You have a strategy of getting to the Maldives and back again. You've got 2 weeks to relax and get a tan. So those are your objectives. Your objectives are, I want to be more relaxed by the time I get home than when I went out there. So there's my objective. I've got 2 weeks to relax and I've got 2 weeks to get a tan. So they're my two objectives. What are the risks to those objectives? Well, one risk could be that you book a horrible hotel, and that then affects the stress levels that you have when you're out there. So that will ruin your relaxation. So there's a risk to your objective of relaxation. So you might mitigate those risks by researching to find a hotel that will give you optimum relaxation over those 2 weeks. And then you think about the weather. Okay, so in order for me to get a tan over those 2 weeks, I'm going to have to pick the best time of year to go on this holiday so that we're guaranteed sunshine for those whole 2 weeks. So hopefully that analogy just helps you understand that we don't just do things, we don't just go on a holiday. We don't just wake up one day and go on a holiday, go to the Maldives, and then 2 weeks later go, right, I'll go home again. That's not how it works. You need a plan, you need a strategy. And when you start to think about it, there are so many different elements that affect that strategy. There are so many different risks that are going to cause issues, or are going to cause extra stress, or are going to affect what happens. So it's exactly the same principle when you're thinking about your business. You are where you are now and you want to grow and you've got 2 years to do it. That's your plan, that's your aspiration. What is it going to take in those next 2 years for your business to grow? So the elements of a strategic marketing plan. There's loads of different frameworks that are usually followed. This is one that I like to follow because it's really, really thorough. So we start, I've got this in 3 sort of columns here. So we'll do it in marketing speak, I'll do it in layman's, and then I'll give you some examples. So you start with your marketing audit or your business audit or your sales audit. And then you go through your objectives, setting objectives. You look at the growth strategy. We then look at the tactics of how we're going to achieve that. We look at all the risks and ways that we can mitigate those risks. We're then measuring the success of our strategy and then controlling it. So if it's not quite going in the right direction, then what do we need to do to change it? So in layman's terms, step 1, we think, where have we come from to get us where we are now? Where do we want to go? How do we achieve it? What do we need to do to be able to achieve this growth ambition? What could possibly go wrong? What's going to stop us? Then when you're working on a strategy, how is it going? How are we going to measure this success? And do we need to make any tweaks to the plan that we're on? So some examples then. So step 1, the audit. We're looking at where we've come from. So we would look at everything from our marketing, absolutely everything. So we look at the website, we look at how much money we've put into it. We look at our return on investment if there's a way that we can measure that right now. We audit our competitive market. So we look at all the businesses around us and then we set benchmarks. We'll look at ones that we think that is our aspiration. That's where we want to be. What are we going to do to be able to reach that and surpass it? And then we look at things like an environmental audit. So things that affect your business that you have absolutely no control over. Things like pandemics, for example. Then step 2, we're going to set some objectives. So this would be something along the lines of, we would like to hit X amount of sales or profit in the next 12 months, or in the next 5 years, or in the next 10 years. I mean, usually you would look at sort of a 12-month plan, perhaps then looking at a 3-year plan, maybe a 5-year plan. Setting objectives is absolutely essential because once you set an objective or a goal, then that gives you something to work towards and achieve. And then you know you can measure that success and keep it on the right track. Then we think, how do we achieve it? So the growth strategy, we're looking at things like, are we going to be targeting new business? Are we going to be diversifying to be able to hit this objective? Do we need to increase our market share? Lots to think about there. And then we go to budgets and resources. So tactics, we need to make sure that we're going to allocate the right amount of budget. And here are all the resources that we're going to need that will fall in line with our budget that's going to help us hit our objectives. Then we think about things like economic risks. What could possibly go wrong that we have no control over, however, or that we don't have control over, and the risks that we do possibly have control over as well, and where do we mitigate that, and what plan Bs can we have in place so that things aren't going to hit us really hard and that we have to go back to square one. And then measuring success as well, things like your key performance indicators, your return on investment. There's absolutely loads of different ways that you can measure it, and it absolutely depends on how, what objectives you're setting and what your strategy is. And then control is really, really important. Along with measuring, if you're not quite hitting your targets of growth, you're not quite getting where you want to be, what do we need to do to change the course of the trajectory of where we're going? What do we need to do to get us back on track? So that's in depth, looking at a marketing strategic plan. So then what next? In order to implement the strategic marketing plan, we need compartmentalized strategies. I'm using very big words today, but I mean, if there's absolutely anything, I know it does make sense when you see it on paper, but if there's absolutely anything that you don't understand, or you're kind of getting a bit of brain fog with, please do call me out, put it on the chat, and we'll discuss it further. So what next? In order to implement the strategic marketing plan, we need compartmentalized strategy. So this is where we then start to think about our digital strategy. From our full marketing plan, we can then decide what it is that we need to do. So your digital marketing strategy, that's where you start thinking about your website, the content strategy, social media strategy, customer relationship building, web development, that kind of thing. If you want to build a lead generation strategy or a sales strategy, your PR strategy, internal comms, customer service, all of that starts to get planned at this point. So that is where my example of where a lot of small businesses get it slightly wrong, or where it doesn't quite work and cracks start to appear in their marketing, is that they go straight to this because that's how they feel that they, everybody else is on social media, therefore we need a social media strategy. Actually, what I'm saying is we need to step back and think about the structure and the management process that we need in place before we even think about that. So as an example, say for instance, at this point, then we know we need a digital marketing strategy, then we start thinking about the resources that we need in terms of people and skills. So you're going to need a web developer and a web designer. That's two different things. You're going to need a social media expert and a copywriter and a lead generation or a lead funnel expert, somebody to look after email marketing, somebody to look after analytics. I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, Sophie, that's absolutely ridiculous. We can't employ 7 people in one go just to look after all that. I'm not saying that that's what you need. What I'm saying is that you need perhaps 1 or 2 people, or you need to look at an agency that will be able to fulfill all these different things. So it's like a wish list of what you need for your strategy. And it helps you sort of visualize and clear up exactly the skills gaps within your business. And it could be, you could find that magic person who could look after all that in one go, who can work with your business and just take care of it. It's a lot to ask of one person. So that's where you need to start strategizing and thinking about the money, the investment that you're going to put into being able to bring different people with different skills into your business. So this is an investment opportunity, but they've got to be closely managed and tie into that overall marketing strategy. So hopefully that all makes sense. So before I come to the end, I just want to sort of give you this sort of last slide that talks about marketing starting on the inside. So this is really, really important. Marketing begins with people. It's not just about the skills, it's also about the people and the vision that they have, and that they're all on the same page within your business. So marketing starts on the inside. Everyone in your organization has a role to play in marketing. That does not necessarily mean that they all have to be involved in the social media. What that means is that marketing is so much more than the tactics that you've got on paper or the digital strategy that you've got. It is all about the people and how they represent your brand. A good representation of your brand and advocacy is what brings more people to you. Internal marketing is vital. So when you're thinking about your brand values, you're also thinking about employee engagement, customer service, all the processes and the speed and efficiencies. So from the moment that a prospect comes to your business, a potential customer comes to your business and puts that first inquiry in, how fast does that process happen before they convert to being a customer? The speed and efficiency that takes, because you don't want to lose anybody at that point. As soon as somebody is hooked into your business and is interested, the most efficient way is to get them through and converted as quick as possible. And marketing must integrate fully into your internal culture and be a driving force for improvements and change within your business. That's just something to think about. I will always say that marketing is the most important part of a business because that's what I do. But without making this a sales pitch, what I want you to think about when you go away from today is that it has to integrate into your business, and that by employing or outsourcing to somebody outside of your organization, that there's a bit of detachment there, and you don't want marketing to be detached from your business. It has to be very much an integral part of your internal culture. So that is me. That's me done. That's 40 minutes of me talking about strategy and management processes. So if you have any questions, please do pop it in the chat. Hopefully I've given you something there to think about, a little bit of food for thought moving forward, and that if you're at a point right now where you're thinking we do need to start bringing people into the business, or you're at a point where you're thinking, actually, we need to change how we're doing this because at the moment it's not efficient, and we can now identify where the weak links are. So remember that slide when I was talking about the weak links? Usually it comes down to the relationship between marketing and your business. So that's it. That's all from me. And I didn't quite hit the hour, which is great because sometimes I normally go over. But like I said, if you've got any questions, then please do pop it in the chat. Sally Ann, I would absolutely love to talk to you more. Thank you so much for being in the webinar. And yes, please do get in touch. That would be great. But yeah, if there's any more questions, pop it in the chat. Like I said, if anybody's on Clubhouse, please do drop me a follow. I'm also on LinkedIn as well. Look me up on LinkedIn and connect with me. I love talking to people on LinkedIn. It is the platform that I'm probably on the most, and getting to know people and connecting with people. So yeah, it'd be great to connect. Thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you very much. Rob, idea of costs, that is a very good question. Would love to discuss that more with you, so I will be in touch with you, Rob. Kevin, dead good, you're a star. Oh, thank you. That's so nice. Thank you, Rosie. Yeah, Rob, in terms of costs, that is something, it is on a case-by-case basis, but I do have rates, obviously, but it is just dependent on the level of investment, the level of intensity of work. But yeah, so that's worth more of a chat and a conversation further. Bruce, I thought I saw your name before. Brucey, I haven't spoken to you in ages. It must be a few years since I last saw you. Thank you for joining the webinar. I'll be in touch. Blast from the past. Peter, is Clubhouse on TikTok? No, Clubhouse is a separate thing. It's a new social media which I predict this year is going to absolutely explode. It's fairly new. It's an audio based. It's an audio based social media. So you basically have different rooms. You drop into people having conversations, and you can join in the conversations. Basically, it's a very basic explanation of it. It's fantastic. I absolutely love it, and I've had so much out of it. And it's really worth being on. It's an invite only, and at the moment it's only available on Apple devices, but they are developing it, and I think as soon as they develop it and open it out to everybody, it's gonna absolutely explode. Not a problem, Peter. Thank you very much. I'll stay on if anybody wants to chat further. I'm quite happy to sit here a bit longer. Peter, can I join Clubhouse? If you're on an Apple, if you give me your number, don't give me it on the chat. What I'll do is I'll drop you an email because I can invite you in. I will. I've just made a note, and I'll drop you an email straight after this. And then I'll. Yeah, it's only available on Apple, Peter. Sadly, it will be available on Android devices soon. I haven't seen any news on when they're going to launch it, but I think it will be this year because there's so much, so many people demanding it. So, if anybody else is the same, by the way, if you're wanting an invite onto Clubhouse, just drop me an email and I will. I'll let you in. Am I working with YouTube as a strategy? Um, what do you mean, Bruce? Do you mean me just personally, or in general, do I help people with YouTube as a strategy? It can, yeah, tie in to any strategy really, as long as it's right for your business. Are you advising clients? Yes, I can advise clients, absolutely, on YouTube. If you want a further conversation, Bruce, I mean, I'll get in touch anyway, because I've not spoken to you for ages, but I'll drop you a line and we'll chat further if you like. I forgot to mention actually that this webinar is going to be recorded and popped on YouTube as well. So if anybody wants to revisit. Cool. Well, thanks for joining, everybody. We've only got 3 of you left. So I'm going to leave it there. Thanks very much. If you've got any further questions, please do drop me an email.